Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of the 3D Print Zone. In this video I'm going to be doing another Bambu Lab tutorial. So I had previously done a kind of basics tutorial video that I'll link to below, and that was really well received, so I figured I'd do one specifically on the topic of multicolor printing. So in this video I'm going to walk you through some of the tools that you can use to add some color to your print. For this tutorial, I'm going to be using a section of one of the parts from my 3D printed guitar designs. And if you're interested to check out some of my other videos, I have a bunch of videos where I build 3D printed guitars, and they are available as STL and kits if you're interested in those. And just before we get started, I am going to ask that if you find any value in this video, please go ahead and give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you're interested in more content like that. That does help the YouTube algorithm know that there's value in this video and help share it with others. So without further ado, let's get started. So here I have Bambu Studio open, and the first thing we're going to go ahead and do is just add the model to the build. So I'm going to go up right here, we're going to add a model, and there we go. So this part here is the bottom right quadrant of a 3D printed guitar body, specifically a Stratocaster style guitar. So right now the model is just white, and what we're going to do is go ahead and add some colors that we have filaments for. So if we come over here to the top left where it says filament, we can go add. So we click the plus button, and that'll give us a second filament color. So we're going to go ahead and actually add a total of 4 colors. So I'm going to click the plus sign 2 more times, and now we've got 4 different colors that we can use. So these of course are going to be based off the filaments that you have and the colors that you want to use. Many 3D printers today have a AMS system, which is an automatic material system, and that allows for easy color changing and is fairly seamless for the user, where once you slice your model with the colors you want, the AMS will take care of switching the colors for you. So let's say for this particular model, we're going to select what colors we want. So let's say we want red. We're going to change the second one to blue, the third one to green. Let's go with a little bit darker green, this guy here, and then lastly gray for the top. So now that we have our 4 colors selected, we can go ahead and apply them as we want. So whichever color is in the first slot here, 1, the entire part will turn that color. But we're going to go ahead and show you how to change that. So if you click on the model itself, it'll give you some options at the top. And we specifically want to go to this color painting button right here. So if you click on that, some options are going to come up. So these are kind of the different methods that you can use for coloring your part. And we'll start off by just trying some of these out. So this is the circle tool, and you can go ahead and pick a color that you've already pre-selected and use it to paint. So let's go ahead and pick the blue color. And right now, let's zoom in a bit. You can see the paintbrush is pretty small, the circle, so we can go ahead and adjust the size of that here with this slider. So now we've got a much bigger paintbrush. And let's go ahead and just by clicking on the model, you can add color to the print. So that's pretty simple to do, but there are other options that you can have here if you want a little bit more control. So here we can click vertical, and what that's going to do is lock in so that the only paint strokes you can do are vertical strokes. So if I try to go left and right, you'll see that nothing's really happening. But if I go up and down, it'll paint perfectly vertically. So that's something that might be helpful depending on what kind of print you're working with. You can also switch that to horizontal, so the same thing. Now when I go vertical, nothing really happens, but if I try to go left and right, it'll perfectly create a horizontal line. They also have a sphere tool, which is similar to the circle tool, but it's now painting in 3 dimension. So here now you're getting a sphere with radius pen size 5.25 as opposed to a 2D circle. But otherwise, all the controls are the same. And just to show you an example, we could switch now to green and add green color to it and different pen sizes, right? So I think that one's pretty straightforward, so we're going to move on now to the next one. This triangle paintbrush personally, I found that it's not as useful. Essentially, it's going to find all of the triangular meshes within your model and allow you to select those one by one. So you can get some cool triangular patterns with this method, but it usually doesn't end up coming in that much handy when it comes to actually printing a model in color. The tool on the right is called the gap fill. Personally, I don't use this tool. I don't think it's that common, but essentially what it does is it allows you to, let's say you paint two colors and there's a small gap between those colors. What that tool will do is allow you to fill that in and kind of smooth out the edge between those colors. So I think by far the two most useful of the tools are the next two. So there's one called fill. Let's go to this one first. What this is going to do is basically allow you to select a surface as opposed to just randomly coloring on your part. So first, let's actually go ahead and if you click this button on any of the sections, erase all painting, it'll clear everything. So be careful with that. You can always do Control Z or undo if you accidentally do something that you don't want to do or paint something that you don't want. But in this case, we want to just erase all painting. So back to this fill tool. So now let's go to the blue color. So let's say we just wanted to color some of the surfaces of this model in blue. So we can go ahead and it's going to highlight the surface that you're hovering over. So in this case, I can click that. And now we can make, for example, the tops of all these blue. And maybe we wanted the sides of them to be green, right? So you can manually select each surface and apply a color to it. This is a really useful tool for most models, and you'll find that you end up using this one quite a bit. So let's say, for example, this edge, you want that to be in gray, right? I can go select gray and select that edge. So we're going to go to another tool that I find super helpful and that I actually used for 3D printing this guitar. So if we go to height range, what this tool allows you to do is actually specify a specific height range that you want the paint to apply to. So this is on a layer by layer basis. So in this case, it's set to 0.2. This is in millimeters. So let's say your printing height, which it currently is set to over here on the left, is 0.2 millimeters. So each time you click on a layer here, it's basically going to apply one layer of color. So here we're switched to, let's go to blue so you can see it a little bit better. I'll zoom in. And now we have a single layer that's blue. But let's say you want to actually make a band or you want a large amount of layers all to be blue. So now we can go ahead and say we want, for example, let's say we want 5 millimeters. So I'm going to type in 5. And now you can see we have a wider band. So here now when I click anywhere on this model, it's going to apply a 5 millimeter band of blue or whatever color we selected. So there's blue. We can go ahead and do green. We can add a gray layer and we can adjust the thickness of that band by basically just adjusting this slider, right? So now we're at a smaller band. You can also go ahead and stack these. So let's say you decide, okay, well, this band, I want it actually to be a little bit wider. So we can go ahead and just keep painting down the line and increase the thickness of this line. Now there's one more feature that makes this even a little bit more advanced, but I find this to be the most useful, especially if you're joining parts where you want the layers to be the same, all at the same height. So we're going to go erase all. And I'm actually going to go ahead and slice the plate. All right, so now the model is sliced. So we could see a few things that are important when you're doing multicolor print. So right now the entire model is just red, right? So we only have a single color. So when we look here, we can see the total print time is 6 hours and 48 minutes. So one thing to keep an eye on when you're doing multicolor printing is how much filament is getting wasted. There is a certain amount of wasted material, and there is a certain amount of a time penalty where essentially every time it goes to switch colors, it is going to use up a little bit of time. So a model that takes, in this case, 6 hours and 48 minutes is going to take longer, as you'll see when we add some colors here. So I'm going up back to the top. And we're going to come over here and let's say we still have our 4 colors here that are options, But we could do something kind of neat if we look over here and we want to apply colors to specific layers. So here, as we slide up and down, we can go to a specific layer. And let's say, for example, we want every 70 layers to change colors. So here I'm specifically on layer 70, and we're red up to this point. But if I right click right here, I could say change filament, and in this case we're going to switch it to blue. And now you see it adds this little mark here that says color, and you can see everything above that line is blue. Now when we look at the model preview, it's still showing it all as a single color. So what we actually have to do is slice the plate, and then it'll show the model as two colors. So let's go ahead and do that now. Alright, so now the model has sliced, and you can see everything up to layer 70 is red, and then right at 70, starting at 71, everything above that is blue. So we can go ahead and get really fine-tuned where the color changes happen just by sliding this slider to the layer we want. So we're going to go up another 70 in this case. We're going to go to 140, right click, change color, and now we're going to switch to green. And then at the very top, we're going to go up 70 more, up to 210. We're going to right click, change filament, and now we're going to say gray, and we're going to slice the model one more time. And there we go. So now the model is sliced at specific layers exactly how we want it. So in the case of the 3D printed guitar that I've built, I want every section of the guitar to have the color changes at the exact same layer. So this is really useful to me because on the single print bed, I can adjust the colors and I can apply these same settings to the other sections of the. Now, one thing to note is now that we have multiple colors, we can see here how much additional time we're really adding to this model, and we can also look at how much material is getting used as waste. So material that says flushed, this is essentially the purge that's going to happen between each color. So as you change colors, the 3D printer is going to purge the old color, and that'll come out as waste, and then it's going to switch to the new color. So every time you switch colors, you are going to lose some material. So in this case, the flushed material is 1.55 grams. You also have the option to create what's called a Purge Tower, and that's going to create a small section. So if I move the model over here, you can see this is the Purge Tower. So every time it changes colors, it's coming over here and purging some of the material. The reason the printer does this is to prevent colors from bleeding. You can imagine that if you didn't have a Purge Tower or any kind of flushed material, that as the red and blue come out, you might get some sort of hybrid filament color that's coming out, and this kind of bleeding effect can ruin your print. So these are important, but again, they do add some waste to the model. So here in this case, we're using a total of 8.19 grams for this tower. So in total, we're using about 10 grams of material that's going as waste in comparison to the 315 grams roughly for the entire model. You can also see that the print time has gone up just a bit. So we were a little under 7 hours before, and now we're at 7 hours and 12 minutes. So we've gone up roughly 15 minutes of additional time to create this Purge Tower and to flush the material between color changes. So hopefully this tutorial provided some value to you. Again, if you found any value in it, I'd really appreciate that you give the video a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this, then definitely subscribe to the channel for more content. Thanks again for watching the video, and we'll see you in the next one.